Afternoon, everybody. I think for those of you who are on the call, we'll just give it another minute or two before we get going. Okay, let's make a start. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Mike Waite. I'm the chair of Leeds Digital Charity Ball. We're in our second year, and I'm really grateful to be able to share the panel this afternoon with the people that have collaborated to, I guess, make the outcome of the digital ball a success. So with me, I've got Amy from 100% Digital Leeds, an organisation that's part of the City Council that kind of works with communities across our city in which to understand and connect with communities around digital poverty and digital inclusion. We've got Shahed from the Leeds Community Foundation, who have been doing some really great work and continue to do so to distribute funds across our city. So you'll hear from him throughout the event as well. And then we've got Louise, who was part of a project that has benefited from some of the funding that came from the ball from last year. So we'll kind of explain a little bit about what the ball is, our collaboration with each other, and what we hope to do more of in the future. So just a few things. We are recording the session, so it'll be available after the event. By all means, please do ask questions. We've got a Q&A option within the webinar as well, so you can just drop some questions into there or into the chat. And if there is anything that we want to come to in more detail, we'll try and pick that up at the end. Okay, then. So the Leeds Digital Ball started, it was our first year in 2022, and the idea really came on the back of the pandemic, as I think many of us understood that digital poverty or digital inclusion was a real thing on the back of us all being at home for such a long time. But what that did really highlight was the fact that there were many communities or people across our city and across many cities throughout the world who couldn't access some fundamental services online that we all take for granted nowadays. That really struck home for me as I kind of understood what digital poverty meant, as things such as just getting online to make a doctor's appointment or kids going to school. Throughout the pandemic, people couldn't do that. And actually, you know, that's still a thing that happens now, even kind of post-pandemic. Access to digital services can have a stark impact on things such as your life expectancy. So if you live in one of the kind of more, I guess, a poorer postcode within Leeds or any city, your life expectancy is probably within in your 60s versus if you live in a more prosperous postcode, you've been to your 90s. And that's through things like just accessing services like making a doctor's appointment. If you can get online doing that versus picking up the phone, just that time to treat or that delay in services can have a real impact. But then there's kind of really understanding what prosperity looks like and kind of what the world outside of your current world looks like. And, you know, I guess a world that we can all be part of, and we should all have the privilege in which to be part of. Digital poverty is outlined by the Digital Poverty Alliance as the inability to interact with the world online, where and how an individual needs to. So we hope that the digital ball can play a small part in raising funds to kind of highlight what digital poverty is, but hopefully work with the likes of 100% Digital Leeds and the great work that Amy and her team are doing, and then partnering with like the likes of Louise and Shahed in which to distribute those funds. Our aims were, as well as kind of creating an event to have a lot of fun, it was kind of raising funds to then distribute to charitable organisations to support digital inclusion, create a better understanding of what it is and what it means to be excluded. We also want to kind of raise the profile for charitable organisations across Leeds, so there's a broader understanding of the cause that exists, and they all need that. I think there's nearly 3,000 community organisations that exist in Leeds and 1,500 registered charities. So it's massive. So if we can help create a platform for what all those organisations are and do, then brilliant. And then obviously create projects on the back of what we're doing in order to, I guess, enable a bridge between that, that gap, that digital exclusion gap. And the other thing is we wanted to do was create an inclusive event, acknowledging that it's key to tap into the resources that are available in the city and an opportunity for us all in the city to kind of come together and do some good stuff. The investment in Leeds is massive at the moment, and there's lots of talk around, growth of the city, but with that, there is a growing divide. So, with some of this work, we're hoping to demonstrate what good can look like in order to close that. So our progress, we're in our second year now. We are just about to announce our fundraising, the amount that we collected this year. It was a massive event, and last year we were really fortunate to raise £60,000. I can say now we've massively exceeded that £60,000, and we had over 500 people show up last month to a great venue to have a really good night, but have some really serious conversations about the work that has been happening, and you'll hear about some of that from Louise later. So what I'll do is I'll kind of giving you a bit of a background around what the ball is, what we stand for, the progress that we've made, but I'll hand over to Shahed now, who can tell you about the funding process and the distribution of that. I think what I'll leave you with is, before I hand over, is just the opportunity to demonstrate impact, that if there's a cause in mind, there's third sector and private sector can really come together to make a difference. And I think we've proven that just in our second year of the work that we've been doing. Shahed, over to you.
Thanks very much, Mike. So Leeds Community Foundation, obviously we're a grant maker, and our mission is about creating opportunities for all. And Mike's already mentioned some of the stats, but just to give you an example, if you lived in Middleton instead of Wetherby, you'd be expected to live 12 years less, purely based on where you live. This just kind of highlights the increasing social divide and deep inequality within our city. And it's our role, we believe, at Leeds Community Foundation to work with a range of partners to try and close that gap by giving everyone the opportunity to access the support that they need. So as you can see, we give out around £4 million a year in grants. We run between 30 to 40 different funding programs across the year in the city, making us one of the largest independent grant makers in the region. And the way we do this is by raising the money and then kind of giving it out in grants to small local charities and grassroots community organizations who are embedded in their local communities. So they've already earned the trust of local people that they want to help, which ultimately, in our eyes, makes them the best place to deliver real impactful change. Next slide, please. So we're really honoured to be working in partnership with Leeds Digital Ball, 100% Digital Leeds, and the community organisations across the city to help address the digital divide. The Digital Inclusion Fund was established to support the development and delivery of sustainable digital inclusion interventions by providing grants to community organisations who can reach those people who are most digitally excluded. Last year, we were able to award 5 project grants of up to £10,000 each, including High Rise Project, who we'll hear about a little bit later on. And some of the other initiatives supported included a digital health hub, establishing digital champions that can support adult and with learning disabilities, upskilling women with IT knowledge to assist them with gaining employment, and also a digital cafe with learning equipment services to support older people. So we've just launched another round of the fund this year, and it's live on our website at the moment. And that's really thanks to the amazing fundraising efforts of Leeds Digital Ball. So the fundraising forecast total is supposed to be 50% higher this year, but we can only continue to address this topic through the ongoing support of the private sector in raising funds and providing expertise. So our kind of long-term ambition is to run this fund every year to provide the source of funding and support to a range of community organisations. But again, this can only be sustained through the collective generosity of supporters who share our vision. So if you or your company are interested in getting involved with the work of the Leeds Digital Inclusion Fund, to enable more money to be invested in addressing this important issue, please do get in touch with the Leeds Community Foundation team. And now I'm going to hand over to Amy from 100% Digital Leeds.
Thank you. So my name is Amy Hearn and I am the Digital Inclusion Manager for 100% Digital Leeds, which is a team within Leeds City Council and the ICB leading digital inclusion across the city. We're interested in supporting digital inclusion because digital inclusion is social inclusion. If you can't make the most of digital tools, resources, then your life is more difficult. And it is often the people who would most benefit from having that increased accessibility, of having a digital option available to them, that are the people that are most likely to be digitally excluded. We'd like everybody in the city to have what they need to be able to make an informed choice over whether, when and where and how they utilise digital tools and services to make their lives as easy as possible. I would like everybody in the city to be able to have the same options available to me as I have when it comes to how I contact and interact with different services and people to support my health, to be able to stay connected with my friends and family, to be able to stay entertained, to be able to access work and employment, to be able to manage my money, all of those different things. In order for everybody to be able to make an informed choice, we need to remove some barriers that people that are more likely to be digitally excluded face. So we need everybody to have access to the things they need to be able to physically get connected. So that might be access to the right digital equipment, such as smartphones, tablets, laptops, but it also involves people having access to the right levels of connectivity, having Wi-Fi at home, having access to a good amount of data. We know that in the last 12 months, nationally, over 1 million people have had to give up their Wi-Fi contract, their broadband, because of affordability, even despite the number of social tariffs available to people earning under a certain amount or in receipt of certain benefits. So connectivity is a massive issue for people across the city and across the country. We need everyone to have access to the resources and support they need to develop their digital skills so that they know how to use digital tools and services. The things that we take for granted, like sending an email, installing an app, filling in an online form, making a video call. We need people to have an understanding of how digital tools and services can personally benefit them, the kinds of services that are available to people and how it might make their lives easier if they were to utilise those services. There's often a big assumption that face-to-face is more accessible than digital, and if we give people a face-to-face option of engaging with tools, with services, then that's enough for digitally excluded people. But we know that there are lots and lots of people who find face-to-face interaction difficult and have barriers to accessing that. Through COVID, whilst there were many people who weren't able to use digital and so were left without access to lots of stuff, there were lots of people who have struggled to access because they're unable to leave the house, or they've got care responsibilities, have got physical disabilities or anxieties that mean that they can't leave the house. And a lot of those people found the opening up of the digital world meant that they were more easily able to access and connect with people than they had been previously. So we would like people to be able to have that choice and to have those sort of those things available to them, but first they need to know about those different tools and services so that they're motivated to engage with digital. And finally, we need everybody to feel confident in their ability to be able to do digital things without breaking it, without having their details stolen or being hacked, anything like that. And we need people to feel confident in the digital tools and services that they're using, in their safety and how to keep themselves safe with that. Without removing all of those barriers, then people in Leeds and across the country don't have an informed choice and are not digitally included. So people can face digital exclusion in any one of these four or multiple different ways to different extents, and that can have different impacts on people. So to support digital inclusion across the city, 100% Digital Leeds, we work with the various different organisations, departments, third sector, health, public sector, people that are already working with and in those communities where people are more likely to be digitally excluded. So communities where people have less money, communities of interest where people are less likely to have had the access to digital, that means that they've been able to develop their skills and understand the range of different tools available to them. And that means working with lots of different partners across the city. So we work with currently, in the last 12 months, 100% Digital Leeds worked with over 200 different teams, organisations and partners that are already offering those general services to people more likely to be digitally excluded. And we supported those organisations to understand what digital exclusion looks like for the people they work with, understand what support would be in place so that people could be supported with digital inclusion, and then to access the knowledge, tools, resource, capacity that they needed to be able to embed that digital inclusion support into their existing activity. And as part of that, we've identified over £1 million worth of funding, external funding that we've helped our partners to secure. And the Leeds Digital Inclusion Fund is a part of that funding, which we've been really excited to be a part of. In order to reach those different different individuals and have each individual that's facing digital exclusion have inclusion supported in the right way for them, we work with those different organisations, as I mentioned, that are already working with those people and communities, so that people are supported to do the things that are important to them. They're supported to learn at the right pace for them from the people that they trust and are able to feel confident in having conversations around their digital exclusion. So they're getting the support at places that they already go, where they feel confident walking through the doors, and where they're offered that level of support in a way that's meaningful for them, included within those existing interactions that are already taking place. In order to do that, we need to help the organisations we work with access funding that means that they can build their capacity, improve their connectivity, get access to the equipment that they need to be able to loan or gift to people that don't have it, build up their digital skills. And the Digital Inclusion Fund has helped us to do that. So as Shahad mentioned, the fund is currently open for third sector organisations to apply to, and 100% Digital Leeds are supporting applicants to develop their application, make it as strong as it can be. We're looking to fund with that funding applications that are from organisations that are working within those communities with ideas around how they can embed digital inclusion support within their existing activity in a way that's meaningful for the people that they work with, in a way that is as sustainable as possible going forward. We're looking for long-term solutions, not time-limited projects. Thinking about maximising impact, utilising partnerships and making sure that digital inclusion is everyone's job within the organisation. Building upon existing strengths and assets of the organisation and the location that you're working in. And utilising a person-centred holistic approach so that everyone that would benefit from digital inclusion support that walks through the doors of that organisation is treated as an individual, and that support is tailored to meet their particular needs. If you're interested in applying for the fund and would like some support from 100% Digital Leeds to develop your application, please visit our website, Digital Inclusion Leeds, and find the contact page. I'll drop that into a chat in a minute, and we'll be happy to get back to you and support that application before the deadline. So I'm now going to hand over to Louise from the High Rise Project, which is one of the programmes that we were lucky enough to fund last year. And it's an amazing project that's had some fantastic outcomes. I'm really excited to hear about them. So I'll stop sharing my screen and hand over to Louise.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this call. I don't have any slides, but yeah, I'm going to start with a quote from somebody that we helped this week. She says, "I'm leaving today with a much better idea of how Canva works and the whole world of computer colours versus printing colours and even how QR codes are created. My Facebook page now has one. Imagine that. So that was somebody who is in their 70s. And again, as Amy rightfully said, everybody is an individual. You might kind of assume that somebody might want a certain type of support, but that's not necessarily the case. You have to treat everybody as if, you know, they know what they want, or they know what they're trying to achieve at least, and maybe you know how to help them get there. So just to go back a little bit to the beginning, I want to tell you a little bit about the High Rise project. So we are an arts CIC based in Leeds, currently based in Armley, in the Armley Community Hub. And our aim is to help individuals tell their own stories using creative methods. So if that's using digital or more traditional methods, or a mix of both, but also thinking about how they can use technology to share those stories. So often stories are told by people who aren't necessarily experiencing marginalisation or exclusion, and they might be told in a way that isn't really true to life or to reality, or might be told in a way to garner a specific response. So we want people to share what they want to share about themselves, and we want to help them share those things in the way that suits them, and in the way that helps them to maybe learn something that they didn't know before that they wanted to know. And this is the feedback we're getting. So as has been said, a lot of people, they don't necessarily have the skills to do that, or if they do, they don't have the equipment. So this is basically about a holistic approach to being able to give people that opportunity to share their own stories. I mean, as we know, obviously, there are people experiencing severe digital exclusion, and obviously we help those people too, from, you know, people who come and they haven't got a mobile phone, they haven't got data, maybe they're buying data, but they're not buying something else that's essential, because the data is so essential. But we also want to encourage people to dream big, and a lot of people, they don't actually need the encouragement, they just need the support, and they need the champion and the cheerleading. So yeah, so that's kind of at the heart of what we do. So we're building a community in Armley at the moment, and what we notice is that when we teach somebody something, what we notice is that they will often bring someone else, and they will start teaching them what they know. So again, we're not thinking about ourselves as the providers of knowledge. We are just sort of a part in that whole network of learning and sharing that people can actually take for themselves and move that forward. Because obviously we want people to have to sort of grow the confidence, or have the confidence to be able to carry on that journey for themselves. So we found that there are people who are going to men's groups. They've set up their own men's groups, and now they're using some of the video and animation stuff that we've been doing with them to create little social campaigns that they've been sharing on Instagram. And again, it's that sort of thing that it just ripples out. So it's the stuff, it's keeping in contact, it's getting in touch with your doctor, it's just, you know, the general kind of everyday things, but it's also the exciting things and the things that make people feel like a kid again, because they're learning something new, and they didn't even think that it was possible. So that is what we're really passionate about, is like, how do we get beyond that then, and how do we give people the power again to experience what a lot of us take for granted already. So yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about that. So I'm gonna hand back to Mike. If you want, you can see some more of the details about the practical stuff of what we actually did on our website, which is the highriseproject.co.uk or .org.uk, should I say. And yeah, thank you very much again.
Thanks, Louise. I think the bit about feeling like a kid again is probably important for all of us, right? So that sounds all amazing. I think the impacts are kind of just feeling important as a human, like regardless of whether that's like using digital services or not, is like super important. It's like we all want to feel included no matter what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think just the fact that you've created that organisation and then digital, learning new digital skills is, you know, I guess it's just another element of what you're trying to help with people in your community. So yeah, super cool. And I think what we've been able to demonstrate through, I guess, the work, my understanding in private sector and kind of working with, like, I guess, community groups and the work that Amy and Shahed are doing at Leeds Community Foundation is actually there's a massive world out there that we probably all need to know about. And until I got involved in the ball, I didn't know about it, but it kind of spurred another interest in me in what more can I do? And yeah, I think there's a lot more, as I'm talking to people about the impact that the ball's had and the wider impacts that we can have by collaborating as a city, there's more conversation spurred. So I think we just need to start telling the story a little bit more about, you know, what is going on and things like the High Rise project. And because, you know, there has been a real nice momentum that we've seen on the back of the ball. So just things like how to, you know, we kind of make volunteering time more available and in the right way, and how should we be showing up to, you know, places, or how can we show up to places that are running projects like this and get involved, but do it with like real lasting and meaningful effect. So there aren't any questions in the Q&A, which I think means either we've done everything that we should have done, Amy, by kind of telling our story today. I guess, do we open it up now? And if there's any other questions, we've got a couple of minutes to talk. No. Well, this is recorded, right? And then the event organisers will kind of start to share the recording. You'll be able to find all of us on LinkedIn or with the links that Shahed and Amy have already shared. So I think that, as we said, let's keep talking. If people want to get in touch with us, by all means, reach out. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We'll end the webinar there then. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.